I am 35 years old, a software developer with a stable income. I met Amanda 5 years ago when she was working as a sales associate at the mall. Our romance was magical, and we got married after 2 years of dating. She always dreamed of starting her own fashion business. I decided to financially support my wife opening her store. I never thought her dream would become my nightmare. Before I share this heartbreaking story, let me know where you are watching from, and hit subscribe if you are going through something similar. Your support means everything during these tough times. Our fateful meeting happened on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. I'd gone to the mall to buy a new laptop, and Amanda was working at the electronics store. She had this infectious smile that caught my attention immediately. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail, and she wore a simple blue uniform that somehow made her green eyes pop. "Can I help you find anything?" she asked, and something about her voice made me forget what I was looking for. I ended up spending an hour talking to her about computers, even though I knew more than enough as a programmer. Before leaving, I gathered the courage to ask for her number, and to my surprise, she gave it without hesitation. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant downtown. She told me about her passion for fashion design and how she had been sketching clothes since high school. Amanda had studied business in community college, but dropped out when money got tight. She showed me pictures of her designs on her phone, and the passion in her eyes was unmistakable. "I tried selling some pieces online last year," she explained, "but without proper marketing or connections, it flopped." I admired her ambition and resilience despite that setback. Over the next few months, we became inseparable. Weekends were filled with hiking trips, movie nights, and long walks on the beach where we would talk about our dreams for the future. Amanda was different from women I had dated before. She was ambitious but grounded, beautiful but unaware of how her smile could light up a room. After a year of dating, I proposed during a weekend trip to a cabin in the mountains. I had planned everything, meticulously hiding the ring in my hiking boot until we reached the summit overlooking the valley. When she said yes, tears streaming down her face, I felt like the luckiest man alive. Our wedding was simple but perfect. We held it in my parents' backyard with only 50 guests, mostly family and close friends. Amanda wore a dress she had modified herself, adding delicate lace details to a simple white gown. Her father had passed away years ago, so her uncle walked her down the aisle. My mom later told me she had never seen a more radiant bride. After the honeymoon a week in Puerto Rico, we settled into married life. Using my savings, we put a down payment on a modest 3-bedroom house in a nice suburb. I had been saving diligently since my first job, living frugally and investing wisely. The house needed some work, but we spent weekends painting and fixing it up together, turning it into our home. Those first 2 years of marriage were blissful. We established routines, supported each other through work challenges, and talked about starting a family someday. Amanda got a job as an assistant at a local boutique, which paid less than her previous retail position, but gave her valuable experience in the fashion industry. Every night, she would share stories about customers, styles, and trends. Her eyes would light up when talking about fabrics and designs, and sometimes she would sketch late into the night. I knew her passion was growing stronger. It started with online courses. Amanda began studying fashion design and business marketing in her spare time. She created a small workspace in our guest bedroom, pinning fabric swatches and design sketches to a large corkboard. I would find her there most evenings, hunched over her laptop or sketching pad, completely absorbed in her work. "I think I could really do this, Carleton," she said one night over dinner. "I have been learning so much, and the boutique owner said my designs have potential." She showed me a business plan. She had been working on a small women clothing boutique, focusing on affordable yet unique pieces that would appeal to young professionals. The excitement in her voice was contagious, but the startup costs gave me pause. She estimated needing at least $100,000 to secure a good location, renovate the space, purchase inventory, and market the business. "That is a lot of money, Amanda," I said cautiously. "Maybe we could start smaller, perhaps an online store first." She shook her head. "The online market is oversaturated. To stand out, I need a physical presence, a place where customers can touch the fabrics and try things on. Trust me, I have done the research." For weeks, she refined her business plan, visiting potential locations and contacting suppliers. She created detailed financial projections, showing when the store would break even, typically within 18 months, according to her calculations. I still had doubts, but her determination was unwavering. One evening she sat me down with a glass of wine and a complete presentation, including mood boards and a marketing strategy. I know it is a risk, she acknowledged, but sometimes you have to take chances to achieve your dreams. This could change our lives, Carleton. After much deliberation, I agreed. We had about $150,000 in savings, and I decided to invest 80% of it, $120,000, into her business. The remaining $30,000 would be our emergency fund. My salary could cover our mortgage and living expenses, and any profit from the store would be reinvested initially. We found a perfect location downtown, a former bookstore with large display windows and good foot traffic. The rent was steep, but Amanda insisted it was worth it for the visibility. We signed a 3-year lease with my name on the contract since I had better credit. The next 2 months were a whirlwind of activity. We hired contractors to renovate the space, installing new lighting, painting the walls a soft cream color, and adding elegant fixtures. Amanda personally selected every detail from the marble countertops to the minimalist clothing racks. When it came time to choose a name, she decided on Evolved, representing fashion that grows and changes with the modern woman. The logo was simple, yet sophisticated, just like her vision for the brand. The grand opening exceeded our expectations. Local fashion bloggers attended, a small write-up appeared in the city magazine, and customers lined up to see the new store. Amanda beamed with pride as she gave tours and helped women find perfect outfits. The first month brought in almost enough revenue to cover operating costs, which Amanda assured me was exceptional for a new retail business. "See, I told you it would work," she said, kissing me after the successful opening week. "Thank you for believing in me." 6 months after the grand opening, I began noticing subtle changes. Amanda was rarely home before 9 or 10 at night, citing inventory management, supplier meetings, or networking events. When I offered to bring dinner to the store, she would often say she had already eaten or was planning to grab something with her business associates. "The retail world runs on relationships," she explained when I questioned her frequent absences. "I need to be out there, meeting people, making connections." I tried to be understanding. After all, this was her dream, and I wanted her to succeed. But the emotional distance grew increasingly difficult to ignore. Our conversations became brief and centered almost exclusively on the store. Date nights were postponed or canceled entirely. Then came Jake. Amanda introduced him as a fashion consultant she had met at a local industry event. He was 28 tall, with perfectly styled hair and the physique of someone who spent significant time at the gym. Apparently, he had worked as a model in New York before moving to our city to explore the emerging fashion scene. "Jake has amazing connections," Amanda gushed. "He knows buyers from major department stores and has friends who work for fashion magazines." Initially, Jake would visit the store once or twice a week. Soon he was there almost daily. When I dropped by unexpectedly one afternoon, I found them huddled over coffee, laughing at something on Amanda's phone. They seemed startled by my presence. "Carleton, what are you doing here?" Amanda asked, quickly putting her phone away. "I was in the area and thought I would surprise you with lunch," I replied, holding up a bag from her favorite sandwich shop. "Oh, that is sweet, but Jake and I were just discussing a potential collaboration with a local designer." "Rain check," I nodded, and left, trying to ignore the knot forming in my stomach. Around this time, Amanda began changing her appearance. She dyed her blonde hair a sophisticated dark brown, and adopted a more polished, expensive look. New designer clothes appeared in our closet, along with shoes that cost more than our monthly grocery budget. When I asked about these purchases, she dismissed my concerns. "These are investments, Carleton. I need to look the part of a successful boutique owner." One evening, I planned a surprise dinner at home, cooking her favorite meal and buying flowers. I texted her that afternoon asking when she would be home. "So, sorry, emergency meeting with a supplier. Their shipment is delayed and I need to find alternatives. Don't wait up." Later that night, while loading the dishwasher with our uneaten dinner, I noticed a social media post from one of our friends. In the background of a photo taken at a new upscale restaurant downtown, I could make out Amanda and Jake at a corner table, champagne glasses in hand. The secretive phone calls began around this time too. Amanda would step outside or into another room to take certain calls. Her phone, once casually left on countertops or coffee tables, was now perpetually in her possession screen, always facing down. The first concrete evidence came on a Sunday morning. Amanda had gone for a run, forgetting her phone on the nightstand. A notification sound prompted me to glance over, and I saw a message preview from Jay that read, "Miss you too. Cannot wait until tomorrow." My heart raced as I debated whether to look further. I had never invaded her privacy before, but the mounting evidence was becoming impossible to ignore. I picked up her phone, surprised to find no password protection. The message thread with Jay confirmed my worst fears. "Last night was amazing. Cannot stop thinking about you. When can we meet again? These supplier meetings are the perfect cover. Carleton is so clueless. He actually believes I am working late every night." Scrolling through their conversation history, I discovered they had been seeing each other for at least 2 months. There were photos Jake had sent her, shirtless mirror selfies and pictures of them together when they claimed to be on business trips. I put the phone down, feeling physically ill. When Amanda returned flushed from her run, I couldn't bring myself to confront her. I needed more evidence, something irrefutable, in case she tried to gaslight me. The following week, I began monitoring our joint bank account more closely. I discovered charges for hotel rooms, expensive restaurants, and a weekend getaway to a coastal resort, all on days Amanda claimed to be meeting suppliers or attending industry events. My friend Thomas provided the next piece of evidence. He called one evening, his voice hesitant. "Carleton, man, I do not know how to tell you this, but I just saw Amanda at La Maison." La Maison was the most expensive restaurant in town, a place we had visited only once for our anniversary because of the exorbitant prices. She was with some guy. Tall, dark hair, looked like a model or something. They were pretty cozy, holding hands across the table, and she kissed him when they got up to leave. I thanked Thomas for his honesty and hung up my suspicions, now painfully confirmed. The next day I visited Evolved unannounced, arriving just after opening. The young sales associate Bethany seemed surprised to see me. "Is Amanda here?" I asked casually. "No. She and Jake left about an hour ago for a meeting with investors," Bethany replied. "They probably will not be back today." Jake said something about showing Amanda a potential new location across town. I nodded, pretending this was information I already knew. "Right, the new location. Did they mention which hotel the investors are staying at? I need to drop off some documents." Bethany looked confused. "Hotel, I think they were meeting at the Westmore." The Westmore was a luxury hotel known more for its discretion than its conference facilities. I thanked Bethany and left, pulling up our shared location tracking app on my phone. We had set it up years ago for safety, never imagining it would be used for this purpose. Sure enough, Amanda's location showed her at the Westmore. I drove there, sitting in the parking lot for almost an hour, wondering what I would say or do if I confronted them. Eventually, I saw them exit the hotel, Jake's arm around Amanda's waist, both laughing. They kissed before getting into his sleek black sports car. I took photos with my phone, feeling like a private investigator rather than a husband. That evening, I waited for Amanda in the living room. She arrived home around 8, looking surprised to find me sitting there with no television, on no computer in sight. "We need to talk," I said quietly. "Can it wait? I am exhausted. Back-to-back meetings all day." She started toward the bedroom. "With investors at the Westmore?" I asked. She froze, then slowly turned to face me. "How did you know about that?" "I know everything, Amanda. The hotels, the restaurants, the messages. I know about Jake." Her expression shifted from shock to defiance. "You went through my phone. You followed me. Does it matter? You have been lying to me for months, cheating on me with this guy while I funded your entire business." She sighed, dropping her designer handbag onto the couch. "It just happened, Carleton. Jake understands me in ways you never could. He gets the fashion world he has, connections I need, and that justifies betraying your husband. The person who believed in you enough to invest his life savings in your dream. I did not plan this," she said, though her lack of emotion told me she had rehearsed this conversation. Jake and I connected on a different level. The business started growing. I started growing, and I realized I have outgrown this marriage. The word stung like a physical blow. Outgrown our marriage. After 3 years, be honest, Carleton, we were never in the same league. You are a programmer who wears the same 5 button-ups in rotation. I am building a fashion empire. Jake can take Evolved international with his connections. We are already talking to investors about expanding to 3 more locations. I struggled to comprehend her coldness. So this is about status, about being with someone you think is better than me. It is about being with someone who can match my ambition and understand my world. She looked around our home with thinly veiled disdain. I appreciate what you did to help me start, but I need more now. I need someone like Jake. The money I invested, our savings that was supposed to be for our future, for the family we talked about having. Amanda laughed, a sound devoid of warmth. Family, Carleton, I can barely manage the store and my relationship. A baby was never realistically in the cards. She went to our bedroom and emerged 30 minutes later with 2 suitcases. I will be staying with Jake for now. My lawyer will contact you about divorce proceedings. Lawyer, you already have a divorce lawyer. The betrayal seemed to deepen with each revelation. Jake recommended someone. This does not have to get ugly, Carleton. A clean break is best for everyone. As she headed for the door, I asked one last question. Did you ever really love me, or was I just a funding source for your ambitions? She paused, hand on the doorknob. I did love you in the beginning, but people change. I have changed. I am sorry it ended this way. After she left, I checked our joint bank account. The balance that had contained nearly $25,000 that morning now showed just under $100. She had transferred everything else to an account I had no access to. The divorce papers arrived the following week, delivered by a courier to my office. My colleagues watched with concerned expressions as I signed for the envelope, my hands shaking. I waited until lunch to open it, sitting alone in my car. The document requested a fair and equitable division of marital assets, including our house, despite the fact that I had contributed 90% of the down payment from my pre-marriage savings. There was no mention of the $120,000 I had invested in Evolved, which was apparently being treated as a gift to my wife rather than a joint business investment. That evening, I discovered Amanda had completely erased me from her social media. Her Instagram, once filled with occasional photos of us together, now showcased a carefully curated feed of fashion store events and numerous pictures with Jake. They posed at gallery openings, fashion shows, and exclusive restaurants, looking every bit the power couple she evidently aspired to be. The following week, a local lifestyle magazine published a feature on rising entrepreneur Amanda with a sidebar interview about Evolved. She described Jake as her creative partner and co-founder, with no mention of where the startup capital had actually come from. The article praised her innate business acumen and eye for fashion, presenting her as a self-made success story. Our mutual friends began choosing sides. Most remained neutral, expressing sympathy for my situation, while maintaining relationships with both of us. A few, however, particularly those connected to the local fashion scene, began distancing themselves from me. I later learned Amanda had been telling people I was unsupportive of her career, and that our marriage had been stifling her creativity for years. The emotional toll affected my work performance. I missed deadlines, made careless coding errors, and struggled to focus during meetings. My manager, Dana, called me into her office after I failed to complete a critical update. Is everything okay, Carleton? This is not like you at all. I briefly explained my situation, leaving out the more humiliating details. Take some time off, she suggested. 2 weeks paid. Get your head straight and come back when you can focus. We value you here, but I need the old Carleton back. Her kindness nearly broke me. I thanked her and used the time to begin picking up the pieces of my shattered life. During my time off, I reached out to Thomas, who had remained steadfastly supportive. You need legal representation, he insisted over beers in his backyard. Amanda has a lawyer, and you need someone fighting for your interests too. Thomas introduced me to Sarah, a college friend of his, who specialized in divorce law. During our initial consultation, I laid out the whole sordid story, providing bank statements, property records, and evidence of my investment in Evolved. Sarah listened attentively, occasionally making notes. When I finished, she looked up with determination in her eyes. "You have a stronger case than you realize, Carleton. The business was funded with marital assets, and you have documentation proving the source of that investment. The fact that your name is on the commercial lease is particularly useful." She outlined a strategy that focused on proper financial accounting for the business investment. "We will not seek revenge, but we will demand fairness," she explained. "Your contribution to Evolved needs to be recognized." With Sarah's guidance, I began methodically documenting everything: text messages with Amanda about the business, emails discussing the investment, photos of the store renovation that showed my involvement. I gathered bank statements, showing the transfer of funds and receipts for business expenses I had personally covered. While building my case, Thomas made a surprising discovery. He worked in financial compliance for a regional bank and had connections throughout the industry. "I checked on this Jake character," Thomas told me over lunch. "He has a history, Carleton. 2 years ago, he was involved with a woman who owned a small jewelry design business. She claimed he convinced her to take out loans for expansion, then disappeared with a significant amount of money. Charges were filed but later dropped." "Why would they be dropped?" I asked. "My contacts suggest she was too embarrassed to pursue it. Classic confidence man, tactic romance. The victim then make them feel shame when they are defrauded." Thomas found another case from 4 years earlier involving a woman who owned a small art gallery. The pattern was identical, making it clear Jake targeted female entrepreneurs, particularly those with newly successful businesses. Sarah helped me connect with these previous victims. Neither was eager to revisit their humiliation, but both agreed to provide statements about their experiences with Jake. His real name, we discovered, was not even Jake, but Jeffrey Allen Kincaid, with a history of minor fraud charges in 2 other states. As we built our legal case, I also focused on rebuilding myself. I joined a support group for divorced and separated individuals, finding solace in the shared experiences of others who had been blindsided by infidelity. I returned to the gym, channeling my anger and hurt into physical improvement. Running became therapeutic, clearing my head and helping me sleep better at night. I reconnected with old friends I had neglected during my marriage and made an effort to develop new interests. I volunteered at a local coding boot camp, teaching basic programming to disadvantaged youth. The experience of helping others provided perspective on my own problems. At work, I threw myself into a challenging new project, developing an inventory management system that could potentially be marketed to small retailers. The irony was not lost on me, but the project became a healthy channel for my energy and expertise. Sarah continued gathering evidence and made a breakthrough when she discovered Jake had been charging personal expenses to the business account. Designer clothing, a trip to Miami, even payments on his sports car were all being funded by Evolved, effectively draining the business I had financed. The most damning evidence came when we learned Jake was simultaneously courting another potential investor, a woman who owned a successful catering business. He had been seen dining with her at upscale restaurants, using the same playbook he had used with Amanda and his previous victims. The court date was set for 6 months after Amanda had walked out. In that time, the narrative had completely shifted. Sarah had built a compelling case demonstrating that the investment in Evolved was not a gift but a business contribution that needed to be accounted for in our divorce settlement. More importantly, the evidence against Jake had become substantial enough that the district attorney had opened a fraud investigation based on the pattern of behavior across multiple victims. His previous targets had come forward, emboldened by the prospect of finally seeing justice served. When we arrived at the courthouse that morning, I was surprised to see Amanda sitting alone, no Jake in sight. She looked smaller, somehow less confident than the woman who had declared herself out of my league months earlier. The judge, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s, reviewed the financial evidence carefully. She seemed particularly interested in the documentation showing my contribution to the business and the subsequent exclusion of my name from all company records. "Mrs. Walsh." The judge addressed Amanda using her married name that she had already abandoned on social media. "It appears the initial investment of $120,000 came entirely from joint savings, primarily contributed by your husband. Is that correct?" Amanda nodded reluctantly. Yes, Your Honor, but I have been the one running the business day to day. That is not in dispute, the judge replied. However, the court cannot ignore that this represents the majority of the marital assets invested with the understanding that it was a joint venture for your mutual benefit. The ruling came swiftly. Amanda was ordered to repay 70% of my initial investment, either through the sale of business assets or from future profits. Additionally, since my name was on the commercial lease, I had legal standing regarding the business location. As for Jake, his absence was explained when Sarah informed me he had fled town the previous night after being notified of the fraud investigation. His bank accounts had been emptied, and his apartment cleared out. Amanda had been left to face the consequences alone. The investors Jake had supposedly secured were revealed to be largely fictional, with only one legitimate potential backer who quickly withdrew upon learning of the investigation. Without Jake's promises, and with mounting legal troubles, Amanda was forced to sell most of her inventory at a loss to cover immediate debts. 2 weeks after the court ruling, I received a text message from Amanda. "Can we talk? Please." I made a terrible mistake. I did not respond. A month later, she appeared at my door looking nothing like the polished, confident woman who had left me. Her expensive highlights had grown out, revealing her natural blonde roots, and she wore simple jeans and a t-shirt rather than designer labels. Jake took everything she said, her voice small. The business accounts, the latest shipment of merchandise, even the rent money for the store. It was all a con. He has done this before. "I know," I replied, making no move to invite her in. "Carleton, I'm so sorry. I got caught up in this fantasy of success and status. I lost sight of what was real, what was important." Tears streamed down her face. "I threw away a good man for a fraud. Can we at least talk about trying again?" I looked at her, this woman I had once loved enough to invest not just my money, but my heart and future in. I felt no anger anymore, just a profound sense of peace. "No, Amanda, that chapter of our lives is closed. I wish you well, but we cannot go back." She wiped her tears, nodding as if she had expected this answer. "I understand. For what it is worth, I really am sorry." "I know," I said. "Goodbye, Amanda." As I closed the door, I realized I truly had forgiven her, not for her sake, but for my own. The resentment and pain had finally released their grip on my heart. The settlement money arrived 6 months later, after Amanda sold what remained of Evolved to a local business group. She had found work as a sales associate again, coming full circle to where I had first met her. I used part of the money to take a 3-week trip to Japan, something I had always wanted to do, but had postponed for various reasons. The experience of navigating a different culture, trying new foods, and meeting people with completely different life perspectives was exactly what I needed. Upon returning, I enrolled in an executive MBA program, attending evening and weekend classes while continuing my day job. The program challenged me intellectually and expanded my professional network beyond the tech industry. Through a classmate, I met Diana, an 8th-grade English teacher with a passion for literature and a grounded perspective on life. Our relationship developed slowly and naturally, built on honest communication and shared values rather than grand gestures or material displays. Unlike my whirlwind romance with Amanda, my connection with Diana felt steady and secure. She was impressed by my coding skills, but more interested in my character and how I had handled adversity. When I eventually told her the full story of my marriage and divorce, she listened without judgment. "Everyone makes mistakes in relationships," she said. "The important thing is what you learn from them." What I had learned was invaluable, though the tuition had been steep. I now understood the importance of establishing clear boundaries, even with those you love. I recognized that financial transparency is essential in any partnership. Most importantly, I had discovered my own resilience and capacity for growth through hardship. 1 year after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Amanda at a coffee shop downtown. She was in uniform, working at a department store in the mall again. We made brief eye contact, and she approached my table hesitantly. "How have you been?" she asked. "Good," I replied honestly. "Really good, actually." She nodded, a sad smile crossing her face. "I heard from Bethany that you are seeing someone new." "I am. Is she good to you?" "We are good to each other. I corrected gently. Amanda twisted her hands nervously. Jake is in jail now. Did you hear? They caught him trying the same scam in Seattle. I heard. I am sorry you got caught up in that. It was my fault too, she admitted. I chose to believe what I wanted to believe. I chose to hurt you. She paused. Do you think you will ever forgive me? I considered the question carefully. I already have Amanda. Holding on to anger only hurt me, not you. Relief washed over her face. Thank you. That means more than you know. As she walked away to help a customer, I felt no regret or longing, only a quiet appreciation for the journey that had brought me to this point. The painful end of our marriage had forced me to rebuild myself from the foundation up, creating something stronger and more authentic than before. Sometimes you have to lose everything to realize your true worth. I am no longer the abandoned husband, the betrayed partner, or the financially exploited spouse. I am simply myself, whole and complete on my own, yet open to sharing that wholeness with someone who values it appropriately. Have you ever experienced betrayal from someone you trusted completely? How did you rebuild yourself afterward? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more stories of overcoming adversity. Remember, your worth is never determined by someone else's opinion of you. Thank you for listening, and I wish you strength on your own journey of self-discovery.